Johnny here for Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Thank you very much for joining me for the test drive for the Maverick. So 2022 Ford Maverick test drive. Today we're going to be looking at the hybrid and, comparing it somewhat to the 2-liter EcoBoost, because really my goal today is to help you decide and get you the information you really need to know before buying, or if you have bought, to really confirm your reservation and order. Now that's tough to do without a road test and without a test drive, but I'm here to test drive it for you. And of course, the absolute best person to decide whether this is a good vehicle or not is you. So I'm here to give a review and to really cover as much as possible the data I was able to pick up from driving it, the feedback to all my senses, and that's exactly what I want to share. Really, this is sort of like a Q&A. All the questions that I've been asked, I've sort of put them together so that we really cover and hammer out everything when it comes to test driving or driving a 2022 Ford Maverick. So part of that Q&A, of course, I'm going to be talking about, how does the hybrid transition between the engine, or really the electric motor, to the engine. So when the gas engine comes on, what does that feel like? What is that like? Is it good? Is it bad? Do you hear anything? So I'll cover all that and talk in depth. I'm going to be covering, power and acceleration, of course. I'll be covering, can it tow? When I drove it, did it seem like it had enough power for it to tow? And also, of course, I do have, other friends, you could say, that have driven it, people that I can really trust that have towed with the Hybrid Maverick. So I'll be giving you a really good indicator on whether it can tow. What's the steering like? I'll be talking about suspension quality, and also not just suspension quality, but between the two engines, as well as across the various motors. And same thing for sound deadening. Does the sound deadening, does the comfort, does the handling change from one model to another? Because I drove the XL, XLT, and Lariat, so I really hope that I'm quite certain I can help you out with that. Also, there's been a lot of questions and complaining about how the XL doesn't have cruise control. Now, the XL has a ton of equipment, and I do have very lengthy videos that you can watch covering the whole build and price of the XL, the XLT, and the Lariat. So those videos are there to cover really every detail of the equipment. So I'll leave those there for you. But what I really want to talk about is, can you add cruise control to the XL? Now, there's a possibility, and I want to share that with you today. And I'll also be talking about, I had the biggest, probably most important question asked that a user, I really appreciate when the YouTube community trusts me with their questions. And the question was, do I go with the versatility of the 2-liter EcoBoost, or do I go with the fuel efficiency of the hybrid? So I'm here to talk all about that, because that's a really big one. And of course, we are going to have to jump right into that test drive, because that's probably why most of you are here. So this is an in-depth review of the hybrid test drive and all the questions that can arise from, driving the hybrid. So let's put the pedal to the metal and get right in. But right before, it would really help if you do hit that like button. And, if you really want to help the channel out, help it grow and help it get out to the wider community, please go ahead and subscribe. Okay, so let's just jump right into the XL. So first, we're going to do a little bit of a test drive with the XL. So this was Area 51. Absolutely love the color of this. This is what I've ordered. I've ordered actually same color, I should say. It's an XLT hybrid with Lux package. And I've already, as I've mentioned in other videos, someone that actually ordered 2 months after me jumped ahead, and they had the same build, same color, but without luxury package. So can't really promise you exactly what's going on, but it seems like the simple builds currently are being taken up just a little bit faster. But let's listen to the suspension on the Maverick, going over what would be about 3 to 4 inch drops. So I'm driving into these holes and the vehicle's dropping right in. And let's just go ahead and listen to what that sounds like. So that's silent going over the bumps. Now let's do a sharp turn, complete stop, turn the steering wheel, and see how this thing turns. That is good turning radius. That was 15 kilometers an hour. Steering wheel cramped in. Good turning radius. Good feel to the steering wheel. No issues with the clearance, 6'3" clearance on this. Tucks in, no issues at all. No, it handles nice. Very little body roll, next to none. So, you know, you're the best judge to know whether something's good or not. So you can decide from that video. But personally, I felt for a truck, the suspension wasn't too noisy at all. I actually found the suspension to be, in regards to noise, very good. So not bad at all. The suspension does the trick. So it's not noisy inside the cabin. The suspension also absorbs really well. So it went in and out of those holes quite well. There wasn't too much shaking inside the vehicle. And, you know, in the bendies, I actually really liked the Maverick. This is probably where the Ford Maverick surprised me the most. It really holds its own in the bendies. I really felt like I was driving, you know, the new model Escape, the 2021 Escape, which I actually really like the handling on that. I find for an SUV, it does a fantastic job. And, you know, I think this is very comparable to a lot of SUVs. And I'm actually tempted to say that it felt a little better, and that wouldn't surprise me because the Maverick is relatively, you know, the roof, the whole vehicle, it's unibody, it's low to the ground. The fact that it's unibody and relatively low to the ground does help it have, you know, a good low center of gravity. There's very little body roll, and, you know, the very low body roll doesn't surprise me one bit. That's actually nothing new at Ford. And actually Fords, when you go into corners, if you're going too quickly, if you're driving either too quickly or your payload, the weight on the vehicle is a bit high, but you're driving at, let's say, a normal speed. While those are two situations where normally any truck would really have a whole lot of, you know, left, right sway, and this didn't have any left right sway, very, very little. You can see it in the corners for yourself. It really held together extremely well. So the power and the acceleration, let's talk about that. The power and the acceleration is fantastic for a hybrid. It's not 2-liter level of power. The 2-liter EcoBoost, if you're looking for a very powerful vehicle, that you're going to be better off with that 2-liter. The 2-liter EcoBoost is quite powerful. It accelerates very well. You know, some tests have been going on the internet, and some people are getting as low as 6.5 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. But I think most of us aren't going to be buying or considering to buy a Maverick for its acceleration. The hybrid, it seems like most people are saying it's coming in more at about 8 seconds, and that's good. That's enough power and acceleration to, you know, get you up to speed when you're merging on the highway, to overtake people on the two-way road. So 0 to 60 in 8 seconds is plenty of power to keep you safe. Now, exactly how much power do we have? Well, let me tell you. We've got, with the gasoline engine combined with the electric motor, we have 191 horsepower and 155 pound-feet of torque. And definitely enough power to get the job done. Definitely enough power to keep you safe. Now, it is, you know, Ford is talking about 40 miles per gallon in the city and 37 miles per gallon on the highway, but I'm pretty sure most of us will probably actually get 40 miles per gallon on the highway, and probably more around 43 to even upwards of 48 miles per gallon in the city. I've test driven and played around with hybrids on the Escape. Very, very similar model, same platform, almost identical in, it's the same 2.5 liter engine. What's different is the electric motor. There are some differences that I've covered in many other videos, but that is a very fuel efficient vehicle, and I can actually get better than EPA numbers on it with, some effort, but not a ton of effort. So very doable. Now, a major question I've received is, how does it transition between the two motors? Well, let me tell you, when you're in electric mode on the hybrid, some major reviewers have said, it's unfortunate that Ford didn't give you an indicator to let you know. And that's not accurate, actually. You'll know when you're in electric mode. Two easy ways to know you're in electric mode. First of all, there's actually a gauge. When the gauge on the left is in the green with the little battery symbol, so there's a 3/4 circle, and when you're in the green section, well, guess what? That means you're running on electric power only. And when you move over into a bit past the first quarter, the white line, well, that's when you're going to be using gasoline, and also quite possibly and very likely also the electric motor. So nice little indicator on your left side of your dash to let you know what's going on between the gas engine and the electric motor. Now the transition, let me tell you, the transition wasn't bad at all. It was actually incredible for a hybrid, because a lot of hybrids from the last 20 years, when the gas engine would kick in, you'd really notice it. It was a very loud, and sometimes it'd even kind of be jerky, and you'd really feel it in the drive. It'd kind of give you a little push, and it wasn't exactly ideal. It was far from ideal. Now the Maverick, not an issue at all. The Ford Maverick, when it transitions, you will hear, if you're really paying attention, you're going to hear somewhat the gasoline engine turn on and run. Now, if you're hard on the pedal, yeah, you're definitely going to hear the gas engine. It's easy to hear the gas engine. If you're listening to the radio, you'll be fine. But if you have no radio on and the gas engine kicks in and you're hard on the pedal, you're going to hear that engine. But, if you're driving regular gasoline vehicle, you'd hear that engine as well. And that engine doesn't sound as bad as a lot of hybrids from the past. So that hybrid, the 2.5 liter Atkinson engine, doesn't have a horrible sound to it. It doesn't have a great sound to it. It's not an engine you want to, brag about, but it sounds just fine. And that's pretty impressive, in my opinion, for a hybrid. Now, we can conclude the transition was quite good. And one your real testimony to that is in the test drive videos. Just go ahead and try to really listen for when that gas engine kicks in, because it definitely kicks in on the bendies. I was hard on the pedal and it kicked in, and personally I didn't really notice. I was actually pretty excited to be driving the vehicle and paying attention to other things, but really my attention was on the vehicles, on the cornering, is on the acceleration, and it was fine. Totally fine, good transition, not too noisy, and the noise that did come out was very, very decent, and what I would say, very good for a hybrid. Now, can it tow? Someone that I really like to follow is Tim Bartz, and also Tim Esterdale from, let me get this right, Truck SUV Talk, and he did tow with it. And, he concluded that it tows well. He was towing, if I recall, about 1,500 pounds. And, from my experience with the Escape, I can say that, towing with the hybrid at 1,500 pounds is going to be just fine. At 2,000 pounds, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be, a speed demon, but it'll get the job done and it'll keep you safe. Now, the steering. The steering on the Maverick is EPAS, so electronic power assisted steering. So it's not just your regular power steering that has, all sorts of mechanics behind the steering wheel. This is a lighter system. It's an electric system. The ratios actually adapt between the steering wheel and the front wheels based on the speed you're going. So it's a very comfortable system. At times, some have commented that you feel the road less. Well, what I can tell you is if you hit bumps, you definitely don't feel it in the steering wheel, which is good because, you know, unless you're tracking a vehicle, and obviously you're not going to be taking the Ford Maverick to a racetrack. Maybe one in a million. There's always someone out there that's going to do something a little odd, but your Hybrid Maverick, you probably won't be taking to the track. You don't need to feel every single crack in the road and bump in the road in the steering wheel, and really, you shouldn't want to because it's not comfortable. The Maverick steering is very comfortable with the electronic power assisted steering, so you don't feel the road in the steering wheel, but it is weighted, and there's weight to it. So when you're in the corners, it doesn't feel like you have this loose steering wheel. It's not an odd feeling. It's very precise. You point it in a direction, it goes in the direction, so it's a precise instrument. I really found the steering to be very good, and combined with the fact that there's next to no body roll on the Maverick, and that the Maverick has, you know, what I found to be very good handling. Between a good steering and a good handling vehicle, makes it for a very enjoyable driving experience. And you can see that in the video. You know, pay attention to the vehicle and it's going left and right. It's solid. It's staying on the road. I liked it quite a bit. Now, the suspension quality across models and engines. Great question that I was asked. It's the same. So, you know, whether we're talking about steering, handling, or, you know, sound deadening, it was equal across, you know, whether you're driving an XL or a Lariat, whether you're driving an EcoBoost or a hybrid, the quality of the suspension, the quality of the handling, and the quality of the steering wheel didn't change at all. And that's one thing that I really like about Ford, at least in the last, you know, 10, 15 years. Whether you get a base model or you get a high model, they're not going to put bad mechanics into the base model and, you know, kind of encourage you or almost force you to buy more truck just so that you get, you know, better brakes, better suspension, better sound deadening. It's good across the board. And actually, I'd say better than good. It was very good across the board. Now on the bumps, you probably would have noticed in the video, the road test video, those were horrible bumps. And you do hear them somewhat, but for horrible bumps, it was impressive that we only heard it somewhat, and that the vehicle, you know, it would shake, but it would retake its position immediately. So good suspension, good at taking bumps, easy. You know, we're not going to talk too much about the interior today, but I can say getting into the Maverick at 5'10", very easy. 5 foot 10 inches, getting out, very easy. It's the perfect height. It's actually a little lower. The roof is a little lower than that of an Escape, and I found it to be the perfect height for getting in and out of. I felt, nonetheless, once I was inside with that big square hood in the front, I still felt like I was in a truck. So you've got that square hood, it goes out flat, so it still has a truck feeling to it, but definitely a lowered truck, because these days trucks you got to climb into, and I'm not always a fan of that. Definitely if I was older, wouldn't be, and when my back is bothering me, I'm definitely not a fan of having to jump into a vehicle. There's been a lot of comments, a lot of frustration that the XL doesn't have cruise control. And I've been asked before, can you add cruise control? And I've been told by the Ford techs I know, no, you can't add cruise control to a vehicle that doesn't come equipped with it. Now, I don't know if that was an answer that was given to me, and that's, you know, the correct legal answer, that you can't add cruise control to a vehicle that, you know, didn't have it. I'd have to look more into that, but I do know that a very helpful user, Boom Bear Tree, said he's a Ford tech, and he said he has added it to F-150s, and that, you know, it's simple, and the only the most complicated part about it is just finding what button you're going to put on the steering wheel and where to put it. And he doesn't know if the Maverick yet will have, you know, that steering wheel button available, but, you know, a button's a button. You can always put any button, name it what you want, and throw it somewhere around the steering wheel or on the steering wheel column. So it looks, according to Boom Bear Tree, that adding cruise control to the XL will be possible. However, I feel with the price difference, I was definitely someone that felt that it was worth the while getting the XLT. Now, the XL interior was surprisingly nice. The cloth seats are very good, and the ActiveX in the Lariat was absolutely fantastic, you know, and that's just, I hope others will love it as much as I do, because it's using, for the most part, it's reusing plastic. So better than recycling is reusing. Nothing beats that. Ford's on a kick these days for, making good, smart decisions, and that's environmentally friendly. It's just smart for all of us. So I'm quite pleased with that. Now, probably the most pressing question I find that I've gotten asked thus far is, what do I buy? Do I go with a hybrid? Maybe have a bit longer of a wait for sure, but it'll show up. Ford's going to be building these hybrids. We're just waiting for EPA numbers so that they can actually, so they don't just build them and have them sit in a lot. So they will get built. Now, should you go with an EcoBoost for its EcoBoost with all-wheel drive for its versatility? Because there has been some frustration, people thinking that, Ford really missed out on not coming out with an all-wheel drive with the Maverick hybrid. Well, that's probably going to happen, and it's not by any lack of, it's not oversight on their part. It's that currently the rear suspension would not, with the hybrid and the rear suspension, it wouldn't handle or take. It needs to be modified before it can take on an all-wheel drive system. Secondly, there's also work that needs to be done up in the motor. So it's just not ready, motor and transmission. So it's just not ready for all-wheel drive at the moment because of the electric motor and the rear suspension. So that's that. Is it going to come down the road? Probably. Will a lot of us trade in our Mavericks to get an all-wheel drive hybrid? Also, probably, if the deal makes sense. Now, here's the thing. You should get a hybrid if $700 US per year matters to you. Or if you just want to help out, do the environmentally friendly, smart choice, then go with a hybrid. Because what it boils down to is if you're doing 15,000 miles per year, well, 41 miles per gallon average, which I think I'll get with my Hybrid Maverick, that's going to be $1,150 per year for 15,000 miles. Now, 26 miles per gallon, which I think is about what the 2-liter EcoBoost all-wheel drive will get, that's $1,850 per year. So that's a $700 difference per year. If you want extra versatility, or if you really like power, and don't get me wrong, I'm a power guy, and I didn't find the hybrid lacked power. I wasn't like, my goodness, this is so powerful, this is wild. No, but it had enough power to make me happy. I enjoyed driving the hybrid quite a bit. But if you're really a speed freak, well, you should probably get a motorcycle or something that's really truly quickly. But if the power difference does matter to you, get the EcoBoost. And also, if you don't care about the $700 difference per year, get the EcoBoost. But keep in mind, adding an EcoBoost engine and all-wheel drive is going to run you also about $3,305 on the initial purchase. So just keep that in mind. You've got the initial purchase increase price plus $700 per year. So the hybrid, I think, is a real steal of a deal. I was glad putting the pedal to the metal on that model, and I think you will be too. But if you don't want to maybe wait an extra 2, 3, 4 months, I'd say probably 1 to 4 months versus just picking out an EcoBoost, then there's the EcoBoost option, and front wheel drive EcoBoost will get ever so slightly better fuel economy than the all-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive does add price, but you'll probably get possibly better, I would think, better resale value if you do think on selling your Maverick and trading it for something else in 2 to 3 years, or even 1 to 5 years. 10 years down the road, it's not going to make a huge difference in price, but up front, there will definitely be a trade-in price difference between a front-wheel drive EcoBoost versus an all-wheel drive EcoBoost. Because I think what it's going to come down to is a lot of people are going to be thinking either front-wheel drive hybrid, great fuel, incredible fuel economy. And I love how one person said, like, hey, this is a no-brainer. This is less expensive than a Honda Civic and gets better fuel economy than a Honda Civic. So why wouldn't you get a Maverick if you're, shopping for a small car? And I've actually gotten that comment from a lot of users, and I think it's really smart. Yeah, why get a small car when you can have a truck, a reasonably sized truck, super versatile, and get better fuel economy and a better price than if you get a small car. I agree. This is a no-brainer. At the price point it's at, I expected this. I figured there'd have to be something or several things either several things I kind of don't like or something I really don't like. And it just didn't happen. I just really liked all of it. And that happens sometimes, but not that often. So to conclude, I think this Maverick's going to be a great vehicle. I think it's good for the environment. And surprisingly, it steers, handles, sound system, the XL sound system even. I was like, okay, something's got to go wrong here. Something's got to be off. Turned on the XL sound system and I was like, that's pretty good. And the Lariat Bang & Olufsen sound system was incredible. I absolutely love it. Hats off to the team that did the sound system on the Lariat. It is fantastic. So I hope this has helped you out. If you do have questions, if you have comments, you have concerns, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help, and I hope by helping you all out, that's how I earn that like and I earn that subscribe, because that's what gets this information out. I try to have as much as possible the most precise, fair information to share with you. I don't want to mislead anyone, that's for sure, and I want to get the right information out there. So I feel compelled to make these videos. If I see a video out there that's got a few 100,000 views and it's saying whether it's saying that the Santa Cruz is a whole lot faster, or that there's just adequate power on the 2-liter EcoBoost, which wasn't the case. That wasn't what I felt that needed to be clarified. Or whether you're saying that there's no way to really know if you're in all electric mode with the Maverick Hybrid or gas mode or a mix of both. I like to clarify things. I want to make sure I get things right for y'all. So something really important to me, and of the entire video, this is probably the most important thing to me, and that's talking about the transmission. Some major reviewers, I'm talking about videos that have over 50,000 views, over even 100,000 views, have been saying that the CVT doesn't feel as rubbery as they would have expected. And what they mean by rubbery, or kind of like an elastic feeling, is that a CVT is a one-speed transmission that's on a big old rubber belt. And when you put torque to it, when you go to accelerate and the torque goes to it, it feels like an elastic. It's a really weird feeling. It's hard to describe, but it does make for an unpleasant driving experience. It takes away from the driving experience, and it tends to have you going up hills at a high revolution per minute. So the engine, revs up, makes a good amount of noise. I want to get something really clear. The transmission on the 2022 Ford Maverick is an eCVT. The only thing it shares in common with the CVT is the fact that both are a one-speed system. Now, an eCVT is a planetary gear, and Ford's eCVT planetary gear system is a lot like Toyota's eCVT hybrids. I'm expecting this to be incredibly reliable. There's nothing really in there that can go wrong. Now, of course, quite possibly you're going to need to change the liquid inside at a regular interval, and we'll be able to verify that with the owner's manual. And really, that's a good lesson to be learned in life. If ever you think your dealer is trying to oversell you or push unneeded maintenance on you, check with the owner's manual. That owner's manual, all the owner's manuals are the world's most printed books, and they're also the world's least read books, but they're they can be your best friend. They're going to really help you out, make sure that you get the right maintenance, not too little, not too much. They'll keep you right in the sweet spot, and that transmission, if treated properly, is going to be incredibly reliable. So I have a lot of faith in it. And I want to point that out because it's really important that you don't get the wrong impression and think this is a CVT. I really don't like CVTs. I wouldn't be getting a Maverick Hybrid if it had a CVT. I've driven a lot of more powerful vehicles than the Maverick that have CVTs, and the experience for me was off of a vehicle that has a great engine. The whole experience, for me at least, was ruined because of that, because of a CVT transmission. So of course, the most important, the most important reviewer ever is you, because what matters is if you like a vehicle. So no matter what I say, no matter what anyone else says, test drive a vehicle. And what I can say is that the Maverick is definitely worth your time. It's definitely worth your test drive. And if you have enough faith in what I'm saying, what a whole lot of other reviewers are saying, the Maverick, it goes well. It's a good vehicle. And I just, felt it's really important to clarify that, it's not a CVT, so it's quite normal that it doesn't feel rubbery or elasticy when you're, onto the pedal, because the planetary gear it can't give you that experience, and it gives you a very good drive experience. The transitions on the Maverick between gas and electric were fantastic, not noisy. Honestly, I didn't feel like I was driving a hybrid. But, the fuel economy, what you'll save at the pump and what will, your wallet being a little thicker, well, you'll know it's a hybrid. In the meantime, of course, I do wish you the chance. I hope you get to put the pedal to the metal this week. I do wish you more cars and more power. And of course, I wish you all a great week. Take care.